Hello and welcome to this talk on airline partnerships. You might wonder, airlines are actually in a competitive environment. So, is there any benefit in entering into partnerships? Sometimes partnerships do help a lot in synergizing, and sometimes they can also lead to problems, as we shall see in this lecture today. So, the content of this lecture was primarily created by the teaching assistant of this course, Yash Kapshikar. Let's understand the reasoning behind entering into partnerships by airlines. Each airline would like to have a large network, as large as possible, because then you will have more passengers coming to your flights. Plus, the more people you fly, the more your aircraft goes full, higher is the revenue. But then to do this, you might need to operate more aircraft, you might need to operate from more routes. Now that requires substantial investment. So one way of avoiding expenditure and commitment and reducing the risk, but leading to expansion of network and revenues, is to go for partnership. So this way the connectivity is more for the passengers without necessarily much investment from the airline. The other thing is that this is that market which is driven by very small margins, and therefore cost reduction is extremely important. When we enter a partnership, it is possible to save on certain expenses. For example, one can share the maintenance facilities set up by another airline at particular base, or you can join hands with your partners and buy fuel in bulk so that you get bulk discount rates. So you can share resources and you can also go for bulk purchasing. This also improves the operational efficiency. Then airline is a very risky business, and that is why so many airlines keep getting formed, keep getting dissolved, going into bankruptcy, going into losses, closing down. So it's a risky business. The market may not respond the way you expected it to. So if you are especially looking at new routes or markets which you are not sure about, so-called the uncertain markets, by associating with the partner airline, you can explore those routes, and then later on you might take a decision on whether you want to branch out and operate on your own in that route, or you would like to continue with the association. So this is how you can mitigate your risk. And finally, generally speaking, cooperation between airlines can lead to mutual benefit. It could be on various aspects, on strategic aspects, on commercial aspects and operational aspects, but this is not always true. Cooperation can also lead to issues, and there are many examples of failed cooperations among airlines. We shall see a few of them in today's sessions. Now, when you say partnership between two airlines, there are various types. Okay, so the least commitment that you can have, or the minimal cooperation between two airlines, could be called as interlining or an interline arrangement, where you just do through ticketing. One step higher would be code share agreement. Here the flight numbers are also shared, and the basic commercial cooperation between the two airlines is established. Okay. Going a bit deeper, you can have an alliance, you can come together as a group and decide to operate together by standardizing. So you are standardizing the benefits, standardizing the branding, standardizing the coordination between each other, and hence for the passenger, it seems like you are flying from almost the same airline, although there are different airlines, but they are now into an alliance. Going one step further could be a joint venture or a JV. In a joint venture, you have full commercial integration, but not on all routes necessarily, on certain designated routes. So on those routes where you are working as a JV, there is no difference between the two airlines, right? And finally, we have the highest level of cooperation, which is merger and acquisition. That means either an airline merges with some other airline, or if there is a flailing or a loss making airline, you just buy that airline out. This is a full legal and operational consolidation. Ultimately, when two airlines merge, there is a single corporate identity. They may still operate with the different brand name on different routes because of the past brand value, but from the corporate point of view, they are together. So, from interlining to mergers and acquisitions, you have this particular ways of cooperation. And if you go down this line, you will see that as you go below in this list, your commitment is reducing and also therefore your risk is reducing. The highest risk is when you merge with somebody or somebody acquires you. Then there is no difference between you and the others. And the least risk and the least commitment is when you have a simple interline arrangement. Now what we will do is we will look at all these partnership types one by one, starting with the least to the highest. So the lowest level of cooperation, as I mentioned, is interlining. Here airlines behave like casual friends. They just want to hang out together and have a good time, make money in the market, help each other to a limited extent. No commitment, it is just casual friendship. So this is a basic agreement which is bilateral between two airlines. Interlines are always between two airlines, right? So the passenger travel on a single itinerary across multiple airlines. And the baggage is checked through to the final destination, which means for the passenger there is a less headache. It is not that since you are flying by airline A, you have to pick up your baggage in the intermediate location and then again check in and go. No, it is through and through. So now because a passenger flies on two routes, there has to be some settlement between the two airlines. So you have standard settlement of fares or charges as per the IATA proration rules. So IATA, as you know, is a body, a commercial body of airlines. So they set up some rules regarding proration. If a person flies from A to B and B to C by two different airlines, how much of the revenue will be given to A and how much will be given to B, that decision is done using the proration rules. So as I mentioned, interlining agreement is the least level of commitment and partnership between two airlines. So let us look at some examples. Air India and Lufthansa, two independent airlines, they have a very nice arrangement of interlining. And for example, if suppose a passenger from Delhi wants to fly to a destination like Köln in Germany. So the passenger will fly with Air India from Delhi to Frankfurt, and then from Frankfurt to the Cologne, you will be flying by Lufthansa. Now as far as the passenger is concerned, it is the same ticket, it is the same rules and regulations, right? So no worry about picking up baggage at Frankfurt, it will be transferred automatically through the interlining agreement. There are two different flight numbers. Okay. The flight numbers are not different, they are not shared, they are different. And there is a coordination, but it is limited. So rules of Lufthansa will be applicable on the Frankfurt to the Bonn or Cologne leg, and the rules of Air India will be applicable from Delhi to Frankfurt. Okay. Now another very good arrangement, successful, is Emirates Air India arrangement. So Emirates will fly from Chicago to Dubai and Dubai to Delhi on their aircraft, and then from Delhi to a small connective location like Lucknow, Air India passengers, you will become an Air India passenger, single ticket, check through baggage just like the previous example, and revenue split using the IATA proration rules. There is absolutely no coordinated scheduling or joint marketing. There may be a gap from Delhi. At Delhi airport, there may be a 3-hour gap between the next flight, and Emirates and Air India are not trying to align their schedules and say, okay, let us not make the passenger wait at Delhi for a long time. No, we are giving passengers a little bit of comfort that you don't need to deal with two airlines, you need to deal only with one ticket, okay. And but the coordination between the two airlines is minimal. Indigo Lufthansa is another very successful interlining arrangement. So Lufthansa's long haul flights from Germany, Europe and other places, they connect to the IndiGo's network at Delhi and Bombay, providing extremely good connectivity to the passengers in India to the 2-tier and 3-tier cities. IndiGo operates around 200 routes within the country. So, a passenger coming from Germany to any small city like Raipur in India doesn't have to worry because there is an interlining arrangement. So, the passenger will buy a ticket from say Munich or Cologne to Raipur, travel from Cologne to Munich by Lufthansa, Munich to Delhi by Lufthansa, then from Delhi to Raipur it will be by IndiGo. So, purely operational convenience. There are 2 different flight numbers or 3 different flight numbers for each flight. This is very helpful for passengers whenever they want to connect between Germany and India. You have an option to do it through interlining. Now we go little bit more commitment. After you explore interlining, you realize that okay, let us go little bit more closer. We will stay independent airlines, but we will try to do helping each other so that our passengers are least inconvenienced. So, you scratch my back, I scratch your back, let us help each other. We are more than casual friends, we are now becoming kind of best friends. This is called as a code share agreement. Now, in a code share agreement, this is a marketing agreement by the way. Okay? So, 2 or more airlines, they share the same flight. So, now you have the same flight number. For the passenger, it is the same flight number, but both the airlines are marketing it. Okay. So, under their own flight numbers, the same flight is being sold. Okay. There are 2 basic types. One is called as a free sale code share. In this, any code share partner has complete access to all the seats in the other airline's aircraft. So, I could, for example, Air India could sell all the seats on the flight if I have a code share agreement, which is free sale code share. But sometimes airlines don't want to do that. They want to only give a small chunk of their seats to the code share partners. That is called as a block space code share. In which case, if there are 3 code share partners, they will decide how many seats on each aircraft the other partner will be allowed to sell from their website or from through their channels. Okay. This is a commercial partnership, but and it is deeper than just interlining, because now you are coming together and allowing access to your reservation system, to your marketing pool to each other, right. Let us look at examples of very successful code shares. One of them, as you can see, is Emirates and United. It allows the passengers from Emirates to access more than 200 cities in the US. Okay. Now, this is done through the extensive domestic network of United within the US. So, Emirates now has an option to reach out to several passengers in several cities in the US, both ways. So, there are key hubs which are operated by United, like the Orlando or Chicago O'Hare, Houston and San Francisco. These are the hubs of United, and these hubs, so the flights which are routed through these hubs of United help the passengers in the US to connect, and it allows a seamless connectivity for passengers. It enhances connectivity to various destinations across Canada, across Mexico, Caribbean and Central and South America. So, with this particular code share, Emirates is able to piggyback on the United network. The benefit to United is that it gets lots of passengers because they are now travelling through Emirates on the major routes. Similarly, Emirates has a tie-up with Qantas, another successful one. So, Sydney to Dubai is flown by Qantas, but it is also sold as an Emirates code, right. Similarly, Dubai to Heathrow is flown by Emirates, but also sold as a Qantas code. So, a passenger of Qantas who has got a frequent flyer account on Qantas, or who has got certain special features on Qantas or facilities, that passenger can book a flight from Dubai to Heathrow on a Qantas website, but actually it will be flown by Emirates, doesn't matter, they have a code share. So, now they have shared flight numbers and also the shared marketing. The schedules are aligned. Unlike in interlining, where the airline doesn't bother to align their schedules, they say we are only allowing you to travel on a single ticket, but you may have to wait for 3 hours or more time. But here the schedules are being aligned. Lounges operated by airlines like Emirates in Dubai are also available to the Qantas frequent flyer passengers. Loyalty benefits that a passenger gets on a particular airline are also transferable. So, Qantas Emirates codeshare is considered to be one of the largest and the most successful codeshare globally. Now, let us have a very quick look at the difference between interlining and codeshare. I have already explained this to you, but let us document it here once and for all. So, we will look at some features. Network expansion. In interline you have basic connectivity, but in codeshare it is strategic. Marketing and branding, there is no marketing and branding commonly done in interlining, but in codeshare it is joint branding. However, the flight number is different, but both airlines are marketing and branding the flight. There is minimal schedule coordination in interlining, whereas in codeshare we want to optimize the connectivity. That is the whole purpose of providing codeshare. There is very high schedule coordination between the two airlines. Seat allocation, interline has got no special access. For the seats on the Mumbai to Frankfurt sector, you are governed by the rules, regulations, procedures of Lufthansa, of Air India, and for the other connection which is within Germany, which is by Lufthansa, you are booked by Lufthansa rules. But in the case of codeshare, there is a controlled access to the partner's inventory. In interlining, you don't have access to the seats of the other airline. Revenue management in interline is purely transactional, but there the booking class is mapped, the coordination is also very good. So, you can say codeshare is slightly more advanced cooperation compared to interlining. Now, there are many considerations. Let us look at some operational considerations in codeshare. The flight number is shared and the schedule is integrated, but the operational control remains with the operating carrier. So, the operational control of the flight from Mumbai to Frankfurt will remain with Air India, and the operational control from Frankfurt to Cologne will be with Lufthansa. However, they will have a shared flight number. Then you have coordination in all other aspects. You have coordination in customer service, coordination in baggage handling, coordination in irregular operations handling. These aspects are coordinated. Okay. And also IT systems, they have to interface with each other to allow passengers to get all the facilities. The safety and compliance systems also have to align with each other, because the regulatory bodies in both the countries are going to demand certain features. Those have to be provided. Okay. Then there are some commercial considerations, like the network expansion and market reach is benefiting both the airlines. So, for example, Indigo and Malaysian Airlines, they advertise that together we are bringing more connectivity between Malaysia and India. Okay. So, this is one way. So, you are providing higher connectivity, you are ensuring that you have a, but then you also go for aligning the product and the brand. Because there are certain product features which are available, they have to be also put the same. This allows you to manage the risk better, as I mentioned. You need to have some revenue sharing constructs. Okay. You need to provide inventory access and booking class mapping, allowing the other airline to access your system. And this has a fantastic impact on yield and load factor. Generally, if it is a good and a successful codeshare, the yield and load factors will increase for both the airlines. Now, let us go one step further. Earlier we were casual friends, interlining. Then we became best of the friends, codeshare. Now we say no, now we are serious. Let us be more committed. Let us operate as a group and let us have certain features which are common to our group members, so that the passenger feels as if you are flying in the same family. So, a serious dating now, from casual friendship to best friend, now you are seriously dating each other. So, the 6 alliances which are shown here, the 3 of them on the top, Star Alliance, One World and SkyTeam, these are alliances of big airlines on a global route mostly. Then we also have alliance of small airlines, the Alliance Vanille, Fly Alliance and Value Alliance. We will look at all of them one by one. Let us first see how alliances are structured. Okay. This is higher than codeshare. Now you have commercial and operational coordination. You have the same administrative and governance structure in all these airlines. You have still financial independence of each other. Although you are members of alliance, you are financially independent. Okay. You may maintain your own administrative and governing structure. You need not have the same one. you also share facilities and you have the same branding under the Star Alliance or under the One World Alliance, you have the same branding, right. There are some benefits. Benefits are at two levels. Benefits for you and me, the passengers, benefits for the airlines. For the passengers, when you are a member, when you have an airline which is member of an alliance, you have much larger network, much more than code share, because an airline may have a code share with 2, 3, 4 airlines. Okay. It may have interlining with few airlines, but interlining is not really a very big advantage for the passenger. But when you are a member of an alliance, you provide a huge network to your passengers. You can have very smooth transfers between the two airlines. You can have frequent flight benefits across each member of the airline. Lounges are maintained by airlines at their hub airports, and those can be provided as an access, okay, and much more convenience for passengers. So passengers love it, but even airlines also go for it because there is operational cost saving. So many operating costs are reduced. Efficiency is improved because now you are coordinating with each other and using each other's facilities. You don't have to station your own people at every airport necessarily. You can take advantage of your partner's availability. This makes you more competitive and also hedges the risks that are imminent in an airline operation. The best part of an alliance is that there is a lot of synergy between airlines, and synergy leads to operating efficiency, cost reduction, and better benefit to the airlines. But there are issues, there are regulatory issues, because each airline of an alliance is from a different country, registered in a different sovereign country. So there are many issues. The first and the major problem is that there can be antitrust laws and competition concerns. Countries may not permit alliances because it may create monopolies, and they want to ensure that by having an alliance, you are actually giving customer benefit rather than colluding with each other and creating behemoths which are going to corner the whole market. So therefore, they always analyze the market effects before they give permission. The Competition Commission as well as the antitrust, they take care. Then there is a regulatory convergence. Some airlines are going to operate under FAA, some under ICAO, some under EASA. So all these regulatory bodies, they do not have identical, they are very similar, but they don't have identical regulations. Certain regulations may be a bit different because there is no global framework. So therefore, regulatory convergence can be a big headache in case of alliances. Plus, there could be government induced controls and restrictions on the ownership and the regulations. So that also can create problems when airlines of different countries registered under different regulatory bodies come together to operate. Let us look at some successful alliances. In fact, we will look at all the alliances which are there. The first and foremost is the Star Alliance, which was formed in 1997. Okay. This is headquartered in Frankfurt in Germany, and this is the world's first global airline alliance where airlines from all over the world came together. It has 25 members, and together they operate more than 5,000 aircraft in the alliance. And these are some of the members, the initial members which were there in the alliance, and some of the members who are there. The comprehensive list is available on the Star Alliance website. Okay. And remember, this also keeps changing. Airlines will move from an alliance to some other alliance, as we will see. Some airlines may become bankrupt, so where they will drop out. So this number 25 is not a fixed number. The next big alliance is the One World Alliance, which was formed 2 years later in 1999. This is aimed as the first choice airline alliance for frequent international travelers. Okay. There are 15 members, and this is headquartered in Fort Worth, Texas, and all the 15 members are shown here on the screen. So you can see there are 3 rows of 5 airlines each, that is 15. So all these airlines are members of the One World Alliance. Then we have a SkyTeam Alliance, which was formed in June 2000, the third major alliance. This is second largest of the 3 major alliances in the size. The SkyTeam Central is based in Netherlands. So one is based in Germany, one is based in US, one is based in Netherlands. This has got 18 carriers. Okay. There are 18 airlines which are a part of the SkyTeam Alliance, the largest ones being Delta and Air France. Some airlines like Alitalia no longer exist, they have been taken over by ITA Airways. So, these numbers and these members keep changing with time. Now, we also have alliance of smaller airlines. This is the alliance of some airlines which are primarily from France and countries on which France has the control. So, this was formed in September 2015 and it is still working, it is still going on. There are only 4 partners: Air Austral, Madagascar Airlines, Mauritius and Air Seychelles. Now, this particular alliance was formed to promote the so called Vanilla Islands, which are Seychelles, Mauritius, Madagascar, and then Mayotte and Reunion are French territories. Okay. So, these are the locations which come under this alliance, and the aim is, if you have an alliance of these airlines which are catering mainly for tourists, then you increase tourism, you increase trade, business ties in this region. So, it is an alliance which is quite small, only 4 airlines, but specifically for supporting the operations in these Vanilla Islands. We have an alliance from China called as the U-Fly Alliance. It was formed in 2016, but it did not last very long. After 3 years, it was disbanded. But this was the first alliance of low-cost airlines which was based in Hong Kong. In 2017, just after it was formed 1 year, very soon it grew into an alliance spread over 18 countries with 44 million passengers annually, 149 airports and 339 city pairs. The airline had 4 founding members: the Hong Kong Express, Lucky Air, Urumqi Air and West Air. Okay. But these were all low cost airlines and soon they had problems. Some airlines had to shut their shop because of commercial reasons, and therefore, the alliance was disbanded in 2019. The last of the alliances is a Value Alliance. This was formed in 2016 and disbanded recently in 2023. In fact, 1st Jan 2024, the alliance was disbanded formally. In 2015, okay, it had so many airports, so many aircraft and million passengers. This is an alliance again of low cost carriers, 8 Asia Pacific low cost carriers. All of them are listed here: Nok Airways, Scoot, Nok Scoot, joint airline, Cebu Pacific, Jeju Air, Tiger Air and Vanilla Air. Now, let us look at one step further. Now, let us go into engagement. Earlier, we were friends, then we became very good friends, then we started a commitment with each other, and now we are going to go for engagement. So, in engagement, we say, let us have a joint venture, we will stay committed to each other. Okay. So, the joint ventures or JVs are deep commercial partnership between airlines. Typically, these are on specific geographies. So, an airline in North Atlantic will tie up with an airline in Europe so that they can have synergy with each other, right. Now, the airlines in joint ventures, they operate their flights as if they have the same pricing and capacity planning, as if they have the same scheduling and revenue management, as if they have the same sales and distribution and customer benefits, but they are still different airline entities. They are commercially different, they are governed by the rules of their own country, their own regulators. So, they do not get into that problem, but they are now working more closely on various aspects. Now, why do we see joint ventures? What is the benefit? This is to overcome cross-border ownership restrictions, which does not work, as I mentioned to you in the alliances. There is a problem that you have issues of cross-border ownership. By using a joint venture, you can create scale and market power against competitors, because now you are having people with whom you are more than just friends, you are committed. You can improve your revenue through coordinated revenue management and pricing, because now there are multiple airlines operating on multiple areas working together to help each other. You can attract corporate customers and infinite products, because in corporate customers there is frequent flying on particular destinations, and if you are a customer of a joint venture airline, you can attract them because you know that they will get connectivity to more destinations much easily. You can rationalize your schedules and reduce duplication. This is the effect of synergy when you have joint scheduling and joint operational. But the competition in airlines is essentially not between the airlines and the JVs, but between two JVs. So, there may be one JV operating in say North Atlantic market competing with the other JV. Inside them there is no competition, inside them there is complete synergy, but two JVs might be competing with each other. Okay. Now, there are 6 features of JVs which we will look one by one. First is called as metal neutrality. It is a very interesting term. Here we do not care which aircraft is being flown, we share revenues and costs on all the routes equally. Does not matter who is flying, if that person is a member of our JV, it is like we are flying. Similarly, revenue is also pooled. The revenue that you gain on each flight is all put together in the central kitty and then shared. Now, the total revenue on the joint venture is combined, okay? But then you divide the revenue based on certain existing formulae. For example, which carrier has more capacity, which carrier has more market share, which carrier has got better performance metrics, they will get more part of the revenue. So, it is like you have a family where people are running businesses, but they put all the money in a single pool and then that money is distributed. This helps in helping a weak or a airline is commercial difficulty. There could be a cycle where there is a small problem happening, and you can help tide that over with time because there are other JV partners who are making money and they are helping you out commercially. That kind of help can happen. Similarly, you can have joint network and schedule planning. Which carrier flies on which route, what aircraft type, what frequency is all decided together. So, it is like all airlines pool their assets together and there is a centralized scheduling and operational planning department that decides which aircraft of which airline will fly on which route at what frequency. You coordinate flight timings, you coordinate the connection banks at hubs. So, this is much more than interlining, much more than alliance. You are now working together as a group. Then you have joint pricing and revenue management. The fares are also coordinated. You have a unified O&D control on joint venture markets, okay. Originating and destination control you have, and you can share your upgrades, you can share the wait list management. So, now all the functions of an airline are coming together. They are coming together, okay. You can have integrated sales and distribution, you can have joint corporate contracts, unified sales teams in some markets can be there which are marketing all the airlines of the JV, and you can harmonize and you can have loyalty benefits. And finally, if you have a joint venture, remember that you still require antitrust immunity from regulators, because for them you are different entities who are helping each other to work together. But this can be a big problem and many JVs have failed because of this particular problem, as we shall see. A comparison between alliances and joint ventures. The depth of cooperation in alliances is moderate, in joint ventures it is very high. Revenue sharing is not there in alliances. In an alliance, each airline works as a separate entity and they manage their own revenue. They may coordinate the schedules, they may coordinate the flights, but the revenue is not shared. Each airline operates separately. In joint ventures, you have a pooled revenue. Pricing coordination is minimal. Each airline can have their own pricing strategy, their own schemes. But in joint ventures, we go for joint pricing and revenue management. The scope of geographical scope of alliance can be global, it can be anywhere, but joint ventures are normally region specific. The commercial integration in alliances is mostly limited to branding and benefits, but the corporate entity, the marketing procedures, the rules can be different. In joint ventures, no, you have extensive integration, almost like you are the same company, almost, but you are still not the same company. The customer experience in alliances is aligned, you align it, okay. You try to give similar services, but in joint ventures it is harmonized, it is exactly the same. Okay. So, let us look at some airline joint ventures. Some of the airlines have got very successful joint ventures. Let us start with Delta, KLM and Air France. They have a very good joint venture. This is transatlantic joint venture. They have a metal neutral revenue sharing. So whether you fly on KLM flight or Delta flight or Air France flight on a particular route, because it's a joint venture, the pool of the revenue will be distributed among them. They have harmonized the schedules on North Europe and US markets. This is one of the most integrated joint ventures globally, very successful and very beneficial for the passengers as well as the airlines. And that's why all these three airlines are doing very well. You have an alliance, you have a joint venture between 4 airlines, American Airlines, Iberia, British Airways and Finnair. This is a transatlantic JV, right? They have a shared revenue pool. They coordinate the business class pricing. So when you fly on business class in any of these airlines, you have identical fare, identical facilities. Okay? So they have an integrated corporate contracting. Another very good alliance is Lufthansa, United and Air Canada. Three big airlines, but working together. This is the Atlantic joint venture, right? So this is the core of the transatlantic dominance of Star Alliance. They are all members of Star Alliance, but they also have a small joint venture among themselves. There is a deep alignment of revenue management and the schedules are highly coordinated. Japan Airlines and American Airlines, they have a very good joint venture, right? This is a Pacific joint venture. Japan is somewhere here, US is somewhere here. You integrate schedule, pricing and loyalty assignment for the Japan-US routes. United and ANA, All Nippon Airways and United, they have another alliance, again a Pacific JV. So you can see United ANA alliance is going to compete now with the American Airlines and the Japanese Airline Alliance because they are both Pacific JVs. It's a metal neutral JV on Japan-US markets. Both carriers coordinate flight schedules at the 3 major airports in Japan, which is Tokyo, Narita and Haneda. Let's look at a comparison. Now, Delta and Virgin Atlantic. This is a deep metal neutral coordination on North Atlantic routes, right? So there are complementary hubs, Atlanta, Dallas and Minneapolis, St. Paul. These are the hubs of Delta, and Virgin Atlantic based in the UK has a hub at Heathrow. So now the hubs in US and the hubs in Heathrow are being used for complementary movement, revenue pooling as expected, enhanced corporate travel appeal. Then there is an alliance of these 5 airlines, British Airways, Iberia, Aer Lingus, Vueling and Level. Vueling is from Spain. Fuel means to fly and ing is the subscript. So fueling means flying in Spanish and English. This is a member of, all these airlines are actually coming under one international airline group. So this is called as the IAG model. Full commercial integration under the IAG group, centralized procurement for all these 5 airlines, scheduling is coordinated and the frequent flyer program is also coordinated, right? There are very strong cost synergies and unified branding strategies that are followed by all these airlines. So there are individual identities, but they decide to come together and work. Another very good joint venture is Lufthansa versus United. One of the very early large scale joint ventures between 2 major airlines. They are a member of Star Alliance and they are using it for dominance of the Europe-US market. So this JV, they have an integrated revenue management system and they have harmonized schedules and they are trying to dominate the Europe-US market by leveraging the energy and the benefits of the alliance. But some alliances don't work, and that is also true in us humans. Many engagements, they fall apart, right? So we need to also realize that when airlines come together to form an alliance, they want to benefit, but sometimes it goes wrong. Some example. So there was an alliance called Qualifier, which was initiated by Swiss Air when Swiss Air was profitable. Now it's no longer there, it's now taken over by Swiss. So it started as a frequent flyer program in 1992 with the 3 airlines, Cross Air, Austrian and Swiss Air. Okay. Then in 1998, Swiss Air tried to apply a strategy of acquiring minority stake in several airlines. So these minority stakes, they were taken to ensure that there is a strong code share and all the 10 airlines, they have a common frequent flyer program. Okay. So, Swiss Air began investing minority stake in many airlines, but the outcome was that their strategy failed. They went for over expansion, over investment, and the airlines they bought were actually weak, they didn't survive. There was also fragmented governance and no unified strategy between these airlines, so it didn't work. So in 2001, Swiss Air became bankrupt, and once Swiss Air became bankrupt, the alliance completely collapsed. Then there are sometimes delays in entering alliances. For example, Air India, they wanted to enter the Star Alliance, but there was a delay. In 2007, they were invited and they wanted to harmonize themselves with the alliance, didn't work. In 2011, it was put on hold, and then subsequently after another 3 years, finally Air India. So after 7 years of invitation, Air India managed to enter the alliance. What are the reasons for the delay? There were many issues in the operational and safety audit failures of Air India, Indian Airlines when they were merged together in 2007. There were many issues there. Then there were misalignments with alliance service level requirements, because as I mentioned, when you join an alliance, you need to have the same service levels across each airline, and that was not possible. And then there were many inefficiencies in the governance and in the process of merging together, the process of allying together. Okay, so because of that there was a delay. Similarly, Etihad also came up with an alliance called as the Equity Alliance. Their strategy was just like Swiss Air. From 2011 when it was launched to 2017 when it was disbanded, they also acquired minority stake in many small airlines. Air Berlin, Alitalia, Air Serbia, Air Lingus, Darwin Airline. All these airlines in Europe, they acquired minority stakes, somewhere 30%, somewhere 20%, somewhere 15%. But also in Asia Pacific, they acquired stake in Jet Airways, Virgin Australia, Air Seychelles. Okay. Lot of money was invested by Etihad, several $billion in acquiring stakes in these airlines. But the outcome was that more than 7 billion losses were faced by this particular alliance by Etihad over 5 years. There was no control because you had a minority stake, so you really could not influence the decisions, that operational decisions on the airline. So it was an alliance, but Etihad did not have any controlling stake. Okay, there were many regulatory hurdles because of the foreign ownership. And finally, because of this fiasco, I would say, the CEO was made to resign. James Hogan, who proposed this particular scheme, Etihad Equity Alliance, the CEO of Etihad, was asked to quit in 2017 because of the loss of $7 billion. Also, there are movements of airlines across alliances. Okay, in 2021, this airline called Alitalia, which was the Italian national airline, because of several reasons, it went into bankruptcy, and then a new airline called as ITA Airways was formed, which was primarily using the resources of Alitalia, but not all the employees were not taken directly, many resources were not used, but a new airline was formed called as the ITA Airways. Now, Lufthansa, to expand its market in Europe, it acquired a 41% stake on ITA in Feb 2025, and they also plan to slowly acquire the remaining stake. That is the plan. The plan is to acquire the remaining stake also to make ITA Airways, to merge it with this one. Now, ITA Airlines, it was a member of the SkyTeam Alliance because Alitalia was a member of the SkyTeam Alliance. But when it was taken, when Lufthansa acquired a 41% stake, it moved to Star Alliance. Okay, so it exited SkyTeam, and now very soon, in the beginning of 2026, it will go into Star Alliance. Now, finally, we come to the last and the biggest level of cooperation between two airlines, that is merger. It could be merger, it could be acquisition. I am going to use, actually it is merger and acquisition, but I am going to use the word merger in most cases. Now, merger is like marriage. Now we are one. We are promising, we have taken the vow to stay together. As you can see, American Airlines acquired US Airways, so they became like only one airline. Now, what is there in the merger? This is the deepest form of partnership between airlines. Recently, Alaska acquired Hawaiian for about almost $2 billion, and now Hawaiian is a part of Alaska. So, this is a acquisition. Merger means creation of a single corporate entity. No difference now between the two airlines. Same board of directors and management structure, same revenue management and financial planning, same performance targets and strategic plans, same fleet, staff and network or combined. Ultimately, you will get a single operating certificate because you will become one airline. And finally, it will also become a unified. Right now, Alaska and Hawaiian are operating as separate brands, although they are merged. But after some transition, one brand will be diluted and there will be a unified brand after some transition period. That is called as a merger. Let's look at American Airlines, for example. What happened to American over the years? In 1971, American Airlines acquired a small airline called Trans-Caribbean, which was primarily focusing on the travel of tourists from the US to the Caribbean islands. In 1987, it acquired Air California, which was an airline based in California. In 1977, it acquired Reno Air, which was based in Reno, Nevada, right? And in 2013, it merged with US Air. So, 3 acquisitions and 1 merger. So, today American Airlines is fully merged with US Airways. Let's look at Delta, another very big airline. Delta in 1972 merged with Northeast Airlines. In 1987, they acquired Western Airlines. In 1991, they acquired Pan Am Shuttle and some of the transcontinental routes of Pan Am Airways. But Pan Am also became bankrupt. In 2010, it merged with Northwest Airlines. So now Delta and Northwest are one airline. Okay. What is the main difference between a merger and an alliance? The integration time of a merger could be 2 to 4 years, but alliances take much more time, right? Synergy capture is very high in mergers. In alliances, it is medium. The governance model, as I mentioned, unified board in mergers, but in alliances you have a board which is common, but it is consensus board. Okay. Synergies are very strong in mergers. As far as cost is concerned, they are moderate in alliances. In alliances, they do share the revenue, but network control is full in a merger. It is the same airline. In alliance, it is shared or limited. Now, let us look at the decision making. In an alliance, you have alliance members and you have a consensus board decisions. But in a merger, you have a single board of merger and acquisitions. They have a unified strategy. Now, what are the pros and cons of airline merger? There are some benefits. If you have a merger, you do not have duplication because now you are a same company. You have much higher synergy. You have a long-term competitiveness, but there are problems. It is slower and riskier. It takes time for the culture of 2 airlines to merge together and become a common culture. We are seeing that in India with Air India, Indian Airlines. You can face regulatory barriers which can create serious problems eventually, and you require a lot of alignment of labor forces and cultures. Each airline had its own labor policy, promotion policy, benefits policy. When you merge them, there can be a lot of complications, legal issues. But we should look at major merger case studies. You can see some of the alliances here, Northwest, KLM, Delta, and then you have this, American with the other airlines. Let us have a look at it. Let us look at the Air France KLM merger. Okay. Now, it is a unified holding company with multi-brand strategy in 2002, combined frequent flyer program and fleet procurement, much higher connections for passengers, higher routes accessible for carrier joint alliance partnership. Very successful alliance. They have some challenges, but commercially they are integrated. One is from France, one is from Netherlands. There can be cultural issues. Delta Northwest. When they came together in 2008, it was the world's largest airline in terms of number of aircraft. Successful fleet, network and pilot integration. strong alignment in the culture and decisive management execution, and that is why it is so successful. Northwest was very strong in the upper Midwest of the US, Delta was weaker there, and Delta was strong in transatlantic and Latin American routes, where NAWA was weaker. When they came together, then the strength of Midwest was combined with the strength of the transatlantic and Latin markets, and it became very beneficial. No overlap and partners in same airlines alliance, they make a merger an ideal situation. So, this is the ideal situation. I am very strong here, you are very strong there, we merge together and we get strength of both. You have American Airlines and US Airways Alliance, merger. This was created mainly to restore the competitiveness against Delta and United. Rapid network and schedule harmonization, because both of them operated. There were fantastic cost synergies via unified maintenance and operations, and because of the large number of aircraft and the networks, American Airlines was the world's largest airline in 2013 by the passenger carried and the fleet size. So, this merger led to creation of or toppling of the previous Delta merger with highest airlines, but sometimes they also fail because of cultural incompatibility. One of the most common reasons is that you have conflicting management philosophies and decision making styles. When you merge together, it is very difficult to have a common management philosophy and decision making. An example is US Airways and Northwest. There was a cultural divide. Then you can have challenges in the fleet and IT integration. If the fleets are totally different, then it becomes like additional. There is less commonality. So, you can have complexity. There are many legacy systems in the IT operations. You have to now combine them together and make them transparent to each other. Very difficult. Sometimes it leads to operations. For example, this happened with United and Continental. Initially, their IT systems refused to talk to each other, and there was a serious problem which was eventually sorted out. Similarly, there can be labor mismanagement, right? As I mentioned, each airline has its own labor laws, unions, and there can be a problem of antitrust security limits, right? Then what happens is, if one airline is very weak, when you merge two financially distressed airlines, you are actually going to compound the risk. They were individually very weak and now they have become. So, look at this. Swissair, as I mentioned to you, they had a hunter strategy. They were acquiring airlines, LTU, Air Liberty, Polish Airlines, Air Literal. It didn't work. Ultimately, they became bankrupt because all the airlines they acquired, they were financially very weak and they were not able to really help each other much. Now, lastly, airlines and many mergers, they are actually very similar. So, a joint venture mimics many aspects of mergers without actual ownership change, right? You have a combined network and pool revenue, you optimize fleet deployment and jointly negotiate corporate deals, you coordinate revenue management decisions, but they stop short of full legal merger and cross-border ownership, primarily limited by law. And we can always conclude that JV is a merger-like structure within regulatory limits. Is like a merger without actually merger, because it can be a heartbreaking situation to go for legal merger of the airlines because of the different antitrust rules, cross-border ownership rules, etc. Alright, now let us have a look at new ways of living together. Just like our society is emerging, now living together before getting married is a way of life. Similarly, in airlines, there are many attempts now to learn to live together without serious commitment. So, it's important to note that there are some airlines which have become what are called as super connectors. They do not have a great market for people to come to their locations, but they are airlines that operate on large hubs, and their main aim is to transport people from A to B via their hub, especially in the Middle East. So, these are global hubs for intercontinental travel. All four of these are called as super connectors. You can see that they have more than double the passenger growth rate compared to the global growth rate in the market. So, earlier the market, the average growth rate of air transportation is about 5%. If you are very good, you can go for 6.5% per annum. This is the year on year growth. But super connectors, if you see the total growth, their growth is averaging 10.5% over these 8 years. Okay. Now, the largest of the super connector is Emirates, followed by Qatar Airways, followed by the Turkish Airlines, and finally the Etihad. You look at their numbers and look at the way they have been rising. Okay. Emirates has crossed about 100 million passengers now. So, we have to now devise methods to fight these super connectors, right. So, one way of increasing cooperation between airlines is the new distribution capability or NDC proposed by IATA or made available by IATA, thanks to IATA. This is a modern data exchange system which is developed by IATA. Now, through NDC, airlines can sell products dynamically, richly and directly to the customers and travel intermediaries compared to the earlier system, which I will talk about in the next slide. Now, this particular capability is delivered using modern software formats like XML and JSON using APIs. Earlier, we used to use electronic data interchange for administration and commerce and transport called as EDIFACT messaging system, but now the limitations of EDIFACT have been removed by using NDC. So, what is the NDC platform? It is a technical and commercial ecosystem which airlines are using to create offers and process orders. They can distribute fares and ancillaries. They can communicate with travel agents, aggregators and partners directly, okay? And this allows real-time retailing. Now, using the NDC based retailing, you can have an end-to-end infrastructure support by the airline. So, let us see, why are airlines moving to NDC platforms? Earlier, we had something called as GDS, Global Distribution System. The Global Distribution System was an IT network which actually coordinated between airlines and travel agents, but airlines did not have a direct connection with the travel agents. It was only through the GDS. In the case of NDC, the airline is in the middle and the travel agents are connected to it. NDC only is a platform. So, now the airline can directly connect with its customers, and therefore, this allows dynamic and personalized pricing. This allows them to gain control over their offers, which were earlier going only through the travel agents or through the GDS. We can sell to more ancillaries and you can reduce distribution costs using an NDC platform, and this allows you to build a direct link with your customers. So, this is what people have already moved to. Many airlines, I would say most airlines have already moved to the NDC. Now, in the future, what is in the future? In the future, there is a plan to have real-time data exchange for inventory, fares and dynamic offers. Okay, real time, not through a programmed system. And for this, we will integrate AI for demand forecasting with the shared model between the partners. So, that will allow us to predict demand much more accurately and futuristically compared to today. Today, we are doing mostly responsive fare corrections or fare offers. This will integrate. When AI is integrated, you will be able to do it proactively. Then we have to be very careful that there has to be digital interoperability, which is critical for operation of the airlines. So, there will be regional mini alliances and there will be new market code shares rather than having only these big global alliances and individual airline code shares. There will be new market code shares and regional mini alliances, and they will be operating digitally through the NDC to allow us to coordinate. So, this is a fascinating field. It is an emerging research area, and it is important for us to get a hang of the system and to get an overview before you can launch yourself. Thank you so much for your attention.